In a recent survey conducted by the Pew Research Center on American adults in February 2021, the proportion of Americans with negative views of China rose from 46% in 2018 to 67% in 2021, showing a significant increase. A big factor is blaming China for the pandemic, but the larger background is the increasingly hostile attitude of the U.S. Trump administration towards China. Simply put, the pandemic is just an accelerator. As the power competition between China and the United States continues, the United States will inevitably begin to contain China, including public opinion compromises, and this will inevitably affect the public's view of China. China has had public opinion and various confrontations with many countries, including Sweden, Britain, Canada, Australia, the United States, France, Czech Republic, India, etc. The Pew Research Center conducted a survey of 426 people in 34 countries around the world from May 13 to October 2, 2019. It clearly shows that the countries with relatively high negative views of China are mainly developed countries in the West, countries and the neighboring regions of mainland China, South Korea, Japan, India, etc., and neighboring regions including Hong Kong and Taiwan. Yet in Europe, Greece in Western Europe and Bulgaria in Eastern Europe can be said to be two exceptions. Greece has 51% of positive views of China and only 32% of negative views, which is significantly better than other Western European countries. In Eastern Europe, Bulgaria is significantly different, with 55% of positive views of China and only 20% of negative views. In addition, there is an exception among Western developed countries. In Israel, 66% of which had a positive view of China, and only 25% had a negative view. Besides Western developed countries and China's neighbors, the rest of the world's views on China are basically positive, with Turkey as an exception with negative views higher than the positive ones. Russia and Ukraine in the former Soviet Union, Brazil in Latin America, Argentina, Mexico, Kenya, Nigeria in Africa, Tunisia in the Middle East, and Lebanon all have positive views of China higher than negative views. Various other global surveys have similar results. For example, in 2017, the BBC commissioned investigation agencies to conduct surveys in 19 countries around the world, which also produced the similar results. Among the 19 countries interviewed this time, including China, 9 countries including Mexico, Peru, Brazil, Greece, Russia, Nigeria, Kenya, China, and Pakistan have a positive overall impression of China. They are developing countries plus Greece. While 9 countries including Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain, Turkey, Indonesia, Australia and India are negative. It can be seen that those countries with negative attitude towards China are Western countries plus China's neighboring countries, regions, India and Indonesia, plus Turkey. In fact, from a global perspective, which countries do people hate the most show similar patterns. In almost all countries, the most hated countries by the people in that country are those neighboring countries plus superpower countries, US, China. The rise of mainland China will definitely make many people uncomfortable, and it will definitely make many people resist such rise. The most affected are China's neighboring areas and the Western countries headed by the United States, which is currently the world's superpower. The neighboring areas of mainland China are relatively much smaller than China. In fact, in 2020, Japan, South Korea, India, Taiwan, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, their total economic aggregate is smaller than that of mainland China, and the overall economic growth rate is slower than that of mainland China. Although Western countries are relatively far away from China in terms of geographic distance, they have great interests at stake and are being threatened as China rises. In high-profit industries and future sectors, the two sides are already competitors. Chinese companies are directly competing with the United States. As the balance of economic and technological power continues to tilt towards China, it means that the power of the West will continue to be weakened on a relative basis. The United States has great deterrence power around the world. But if China develops its own tech capabilities, then the United States and Western countries will lose the power of sanctions. In the future, Western governments and media will continue to be against China, as China develops its own capabilities and make Western countries lose their leverage against China. It is normal for people in Western countries to have even more negative views towards China in the future. What's your choice of a good hand sanitizer? One that's infused with aloe vera, with tea tree fragrance, using 99% high-quality ethanol in its formula, clinically proven to kill 99.9% bacteria, gentle to the skin, soft on hand after use. Our hand sanitizer, the best choice. Looking at China's current foreign policy, China is trying to avoid or delay the US-led forces from moving towards full hostility with China, and maintain a state of competition and cooperation. But time is on China's side, as China's development speed has always been faster than that of the United States. China should also strive for the neutrality or support of marginal countries and developing countries. These countries are marginal in the current global distribution of interests, but they are the mainstream of the world in terms of population. For them, China's development can break the Western monopoly in the fields of infrastructure, manufacturing and technology export, giving them more choices and options. Overall, China will be hated more and more by the West, which will continue for a long time in the future. After all, what China is gaining is something they don't want to lose.